You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
To the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official, one and only, world's greatest minor league baseball podcast. My name is Tyler Mon in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and in New York City is one Samuel C. Dykstra. Sammy, so good to see you, buddy. How are you?
I am good, Tyler. I wish I could say that our third chair this week is Bad Bunny because you are in the largest Puerto Rican population in the world. I'm in the probably second, maybe even most. I mean, given the diaspora and all that, but no, Benjamin Hill is off this week. He is out in California. He will be back with us in future episodes, so it's just the two of us. But there's plenty of baseball to talk about. And
not only is Benjamin Hill out, but we couldn't get Bad Bunny.
We couldn't get Bad Bunny. I'm going to be pretty frank about it. We cannot afford him.
His fee is a little bit more than this minor league baseball podcast.
I wanted to pay him in admiration, and it just was not going to work that way. I have lots of admiration to give. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
Billions of dollars in admiration. But
unfortunately, we couldn't get him roped in for this week's episode. But I'm still holding out hope that I will get a chance to somehow see Bad Bunny down here in San Juan as we roll you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. As Sam noted, it is a bit of a light show this week, just me and Sam. But man, we have so much to get to, so much to talk about, and we thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Wherever you found us, you can, of course, as always, get in touch with us. Podcast at MILB.com, and let us know your thoughts, especially as it comes to our topics du jour this week. Topics du week. I don't remember the word for week. I took French for 2 years in college, but I don't remember the word for week. Topics du week, which we will kick off with the brand new top 30 lists for all 30 major league organizations, which are out now at MLB Pipeline. You can do all of your yelling at Sam Dykstra via podcast at MILB.com. Top 100 is out. All the top 10 prospect lists, position lists are out, and now the top 30s as well. Sam, it honestly sort of surprises me that we're doing this episode because I always figured you filed the top 30s and then you slept like a vampire for like a month.
I wish that were true. I will be on the road to spring training in 2 days' time myself. So this is not even a down period for me. It's right back into the thick of it, which is the way I want it to be. It's very exciting times to get a top 30, not one top 30, 30 top 30s out there.
30 that's 900 players.
900 players ranked in various different ways. We don't rank them from 1 to 900. That would be insane, as if this undertaking is not insane enough. But yeah, I do a lot of the work for MLB Pipeline, not the majority of the work, a lot of the work for MLB Pipeline alongside my colleagues, Jim Callis and Jonathan Mayo. We have a lot of other people contributing to top 30s. We have beat writers. Like I just want to shout them out real quick because they do a lot of the work for their individual clubs. Toronto Blue Jays, Keegan Matheson, Tampa Bay Rays, Adam Berry, Kansas City Royals, Andy Rogers, Detroit Tigers, Jason Beck, the Athletics, Martin Gallegos, the Seattle Mariners, Daniel Kramer. It's just there's a lot that goes into this. And then we have all the other beat writers who are tripping in with things that they've heard. I just want to highlight that. Like, we're not going to go through all the top 30s, right? Like, that would be insane. It's going to take a lot of time. The whole point of writing that.
You told me that we were going to go 1 through 900 through all of them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
We're going to save that for the Patreon. I'm going to need to learn a little extra scratch if we're going to go 1 to 900. But I just want to highlight that of like how much work goes into these and how much thought goes into these and how much sourcing goes into these. You know, we care about this product. We want to be right? Like we want you to be better fans. We want you to know about the prospects in your organization. We want the information to be correct. And we want the ranking to be, I won't say correct because the ranking's never going to be correct. I'll be 100% honest with you guys. We can't entirely predict for the future. We can take extremely educated guesses, and that's what we're trying to do. I always say year in and year out, what's my favorite thing? They're breakouts from players we didn't see coming. Because guys are doing stuff behind the scenes to get ready for the season, and they're becoming stronger. They're throwing their pitches better. They're improving their walk rate. They're doing all these things that's going to help them take off. And I can't wait to see that come into play. And I can't wait to get down to spring training and check in on them myself. But through a lot of conversations with people in front offices, conversations with scouts, conversations amongst ourselves, we're always chatting about like, hey, if this guy's a 45 hit and 55 power, how would you rank him versus a guy who's 50 in both categories? It's a lot of communication. It makes it a lot of fun. It's just talking shop, talking ball all the time. And hopefully everybody enjoys diving into the reports. One of my other favorite things is obviously, like I said, getting to witness breakouts, but being at a game, and this has happened before, I swear I'm not making it up, where I've heard somebody reference a scouting report that I wrote.
That is pretty cool. That is
Where
very
it's
cool.
just like, I heard this guy touched 102 last year. And obviously there's lots of other prospect sites out there, Baseball America, Baseball Perspective, Fangraphs, Just Baseball, a lot of people writing up baseball prospects these days and doing great work. And I want everybody to be educated and read up as much as you can. But when I heard of like, that's exactly what I wrote, at least, even if they weren't quoting me directly,
That's
I'm going to
so
tell
cool.
myself they were.
Yeah.
But if they weren't, and they're just educated baseball fans, that's great for the sport.
That's pretty
great
cool
for
too.
us as an industry. People care about the number 17 prospect in the Met system in a way like they never did. It was like, who is this guy who's getting called up for one inning of Grapefruit League play? And now all of a sudden, everybody has opinions on the shape of Ryan Lambert's fastball, for example. Like it's great. The baseball is in a terrific place because of how much people care about that next generation, and will continue to care as more next generations come up. The transition from Jackson Churio to Jesus Made was swift, right?
Yeah.
And Jackson
Yeah.
Churio is younger than many players on our top 100 now, and he feels like a major league vet. So I hope everybody goes out there and enjoys it. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Maybe you have some disagreements, and that's great. Like we can explain ourselves. One thing that also comes up a lot, I think, is that people see it and they think, "Oh, you must have missed something." And it's like, "No, let me explain it further." We're given 250 to 300 words to write on each player. We're not going to be able to get into every nook and cranny, about why we ranked a certain player a certain way. And I think most of the time, I would say it's solid 90% of the time, when I explain myself, fans get it. They're like, "Oh, well, that
Okay.
makes sense."
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like one that I'm kind of wrangling right now is this is just a pure example. Romeo Sanabria with the San Diego Padres. We ranked him pretty low on the Mets or on the Padres top 30. I think it was 28. But he's a first baseman who's locked in at first base and had a really difficult year last year in the Texas League. If you are a first baseman who doesn't hit very well, like he did last year, and it's looking like 45 hit, 45 power, it's difficult for you to be a major leaguer. He's having a really strong spring. He's hit at least one home run. He's got a few extra base hits. AJ Casvel with the San Diego Padres, our beat writer there, has brought him up as somebody who stands out. I am going based off what I saw in a larger 2012 sample. If Sanabria comes out tearing the cover off the ball back at Double A San Antonio and pushes his way to El Paso, that's great. That means he's doing something different this spring than he was last summer. But as it stands now, that's why we rank him where we do. So if you have any questions, reach out. I can pass your question on to the person who actually ranked it that way, or I can answer it best I can. But all of this is just about educating fans and getting you to be better baseball fans, more educated baseball fans, and enjoy the sport and enjoy what's coming more and more every year.
All right, Sam. Well, you have the luxury of an old-timey term, the bully pulpit of this podcast to explain. Is there anything among the top 30s that you are most fascinated by in 2026, or an organization that you think is especially deep, where their number 30 guy would be top 10 somewhere else? Or is there anything among the lists that really you felt like, oh, this deserves additional context and explanation?
Yeah, well, one thing I will say too is that our farm system rankings are coming out the night before this podcast. So we are also contextualizing it of like who we think are the deeper systems and how do you weigh systems that have a lot of, like the Seattle Mariners, for example, have a lot of top 100 talents, and then it falls off a cliff pretty quickly after that. How do you balance that versus, let's say, the Milwaukee Brewers, who I will say on this podcast is the number one farm system in baseball, because it is really deep up top. They've got 5 top 100 prospects, 2 of which they got in the Freddie Peralta deal, but it's also incredibly layered. It's a good mix of pitchers and hitters. There's some catchers, there's some infielders, there's some outfielders. There's guys who can hit for a lot of power. There's guys who can really run. It's not just all one track. They have multiple avenues that they are going to get a contender out of in Milwaukee. And that's what the Milwaukee Brewers do. Now, when the dust is kind of settled, as I was building that list, I'm like, my cutoff, and I don't know if I'll ever say this publicly, but you can probably tell it in the writing.
Nobody's listening. It's a podcast. You're not saying it publicly. It's just me and you.
No, I know. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, with every team, there's a line in which I'm like, this is where I don't like any more players. Like, this is where, after this, I don't think they're very good prospects. And that is usually where I view how good a system is. Like, if I'm drawing that line at like
that's
6,
a good barometer. Yeah.
Then that's not good. Even if they're all 6 top 100 prospects, it's not good if 7 through 30 I have real problems with. If you're like the Tampa Bay Rays, who Adam Barry was doing that list, and I was working on it with him and editing his blurbs, and it's like, man, you got to go like all the way to the back half of the 20s. Like, this is a deep Tampa Bay Rays system. And I've heard from people with the Rays of like, yeah, we have to get back to being us, right? Like, they had some down years last year from their top prospects. It was not a deep Rays farm system that we've all come to know and appreciate. They addressed that with off-season trades. They are a much deeper system now than they were, and you can feel it. Now, Carson Williams isn't a top 20 prospect in the game anymore. They don't have that one shining star that they kind of need to be a, let's say, top 5 system in the game, but they are still deep. They are still a top 10 system in the game. So it's always fun balancing all that stuff and discovering more. Like I said, like, you can talk names all you want. Once you start to dig into the data and dig into what's gone on for a player and why he struggled or why he's better than the numbers or where the numbers came from, it's so much more fun and it's illuminating. So we try to pour all of that into the blurbs. And that's, I know I said before, like, reach out if you have questions. I would just say read first. Like, read the blurb before you bring up a question, because it's probably going to be answered in there.
Read the column.
Read the
Mr.
column.
Sugar Penis.
Everybody who doesn't get that reference, I guess don't look it up.
It's like, whoa, wait a minute, what now? Yeah, probably not Google. Google Ken Rosenthal, read the column tweet.
That's the correct SEO, the safer work version. To look that up. But yeah, just read it first and see if your questions are answered in there before you just like, hey, here's a name I thought was better. Why is he not higher? Well, we probably get into it. He might have too high of a chase rate. His exit velocities might be not that good under the hood. There might be internal questions about him moving to a new position, and that's going to affect how valuable he is. So we do, like I was saying, we do all of this with the fans, with the readers in mind first, and trying to give you information.
All right, Sam. Well, the top 30's out now at MLB Pipeline, and you can check out your organization's best and brightest for the 2026 season and beyond at MLB.com/pipeline. We have other prospect on-field news, though. We have a new breakout starting in 2027 for some of those very same top prospects in baseball. Spring Breakout is a new format, new thoughts, new concept, a tournament-style competition among some of the best talent, young talent in baseball. This is a really cool concept. I know it's something that's been bandied about for a little while, but the Spring Breakout tournament is on the way.
Yeah, that tournament style is coming in 2027. So that's something to look forward to next spring. Now, the details of that are still yet to be revealed, exactly how it's going to work. But for the most part, we've talked about the Spring Breakout series being a chance to showcase minor league talent that's normally playing on the backfields. Now those games are going to count for something. And I can't wait to see how that comes together. And, you know, I've talked to players before, like Spencer Jones and Enrique Bradfield Jr., who both went to Vanderbilt, and they were talking about bragging rights and how they were chirping at each other a little bit here and there. Now with like somebody actually moving on from one of those matchups, I think it'd be even more fun, and I can't wait to see exactly how it comes together in 2027. But as you're watching the breakout games that are happening here in 2026, we'll talk about rosters here in a second. Just keep in mind that that is going to be a more competitive environment in 2027 and 2028. Both of those years will be tournament style, so can't wait to see that come.
All right, Sam. Rosters, spring breakout, and all of the most exciting young talents in professional baseball getting set for this 2026 edition. Spring breakout's fun. I mean, it's still new and obviously a format that's still being tweaked, but what are your headlines?
Yeah, the headlines for this is that this year they have announced a preliminary pool for each team. So these are not the final rosters exactly, but these are the players who could play on each spring breakout roster. And of that, we've got 91 players of our MLB Pipeline Top 100 on those preliminary rosters, including 14 of the top 15. I believe the only holdout is Nolan McLean, who will be in Major League Camp. He's actually on Team USA right now, about to go to Team USA and pitch for the Americans in the World Baseball Classic. But otherwise, 14 of the top 15, 28 different club number one prospects, which is a huge number, 97 first round draft picks over the years, and players from 23 different countries and territories. So this is going to be an international affair in that way. Like I said, a lot of this is still going to be cold. It's going to be, we're going to find out the final rosters in a few weeks. But if you're somebody who is thinking like, oh, who could play in this? You know, Connor Griffin is on the Pirates preliminary roster. Kevin McGonigal is on the Tigers preliminary roster. JJ Weatherholt is on the Cardinals preliminary roster. Jesus Made, Leo DeVries, all of these really, really big names could be there. And that is the whole point of this, is to get excitement and to see these guys on this stage. Some of these you've seen in Grapefruit League play and Cactus League play so far, and in Kevin McGonigal's case, dominate. Connor Griffin obviously putting on a power show in Bradenton. JJ Weatherholt has been an on-base machine for the Cardinals. All three of those guys are trying to win major league jobs. Would love to see them compete in this against other prospects and to show just how good of a player they are. But for now, getting these guys on the initial rosters is only heightening the excitement of this. This is the third year spring breakout has happened. We've seen some really cool moments over the years. Think back to Paul Skeens striking out Jackson Holiday in 2024. Last year, Roman Anthony hearing overrated chants in Port Charlotte from Rays fans, going yard to right after. The big talents really shine through in this event, and I can't wait to see who's next in doing so. And so far, so good in terms of these preliminary rosters.
So some fun stuff coming up here in 2026 as spring training gets deeper and deeper. And not only spring training baseball currently in progress here in this kickoff to the 2026 campaign, but World Baseball Classic 2026 has arrived, the sixth edition of the WBC. Sam, did you stay up last night? Did you watch Australia and in their big time opening win over Chinese Taipei?
You know I did because you liked a picture I posted on Instagram
I
of
did
watching the game with my
with your
Peruvian
cat.
cat
Yeah,
Taz, who was
Taz.
happy to stay up with me. And I literally was taking a picture. I'm like, oh, this is very funny. He's very intently watching as he's sitting between my legs. And Travis Bazzana was up. And I'm like, this is cool. Bazzana homered on the next pitch. It was like immediate.
Not
So it was
bad.
really, yeah, pretty good. When
Not
I'm trying
bad,
to explain
Taz.
to this cat from Peru that, hey, there's this World Baseball Classic with baseball being played all over the world, and
Your
the
country isn't
player
in
I
it
know.
yet, Taz.
Not
As a
yet.
Peruvian cat, but maybe someday.
Maybe someday. Maybe someday. But yeah, no, it was very exciting to see a top 100 prospect get on the board that quickly, right? From my point of view. And Travis Bazzana, somebody we're still obviously very high on in terms of a prospect. First overall pick a few years back, had an oblique injury last year. I think held him back from showing what he can truly be as a hitter. And then on one swing in Tokyo, put it on the world stage for all to see. And I know our friend Michael Clare had been talking about this. I think like Travis Bazzana had built a lineup for the 2026 World Baseball Classic, just dreaming of what that would be like years ago. And he
Yep.
put himself leadoff. Guess what? He was hitting leadoff yesterday. He homered in his WBC debut. You couldn't script it any better, both for him and the people of Australia. So we're off to a really, really exciting start. But Tyler, you get a front row seat to all of this. You get to see pool play. You get to call pool play down there in San Juan in Puerto Rico. What are you most excited about for these next couple days?
Man, it is as good and as well balanced of a group as we have seen in a very long time in the WBC. And that's coming from a guy who was part of a group in which everybody went 2-2 3 years ago. And we had to go to the tiebreakers. The first tiebreaker wasn't enough. We had to go to runs allowed over defensive outs earned and the formulas that eventually ended up pushing two teams on Cuba and Italy from the opening round last season to the second round. This year's Group A, which was actually the same group that we had in 2023, was Pool A. This year's group is just as evenly matched, if not more so, than that one 3 years ago. And in this group, we have Canada, Colombia, Cuba, Panama, and Puerto Rico. I think, maybe more than anything, you look at the Puerto Rico team and you want to think, oh, well, they're missing the big three guys. They don't have Baez, they don't have Lindor, they don't have Correa, they don't have Kike Hernandez either. What is that Puerto Rico team going to be like? They're still going to be loaded, man. They are an extremely fun and really talented group. And I think in any other year, you would look at the fact that they're playing at home and you would think, well, they're a shoo-in. They're going to make it through. But all of these countries, all of these teams in this opening group here in Pool A are really, really deep. Canada has a couple of ranked prospects in Owen Casey and Adam Macko from the Marlins and Blue Jays organizations, respectively. Colombia has an outstanding young shortstop in Michael Arroyo, who last season in the Mariners organization made the jump to Double A, was outstanding. Hit 262, 401, 433 last year in 121 games. In Panama, with Leonardo Bernal and Enrique Bradfield Jr., those guys are, I think, going to see a lot of big, crucial innings and at-bats for that team and are as exciting as any talents that we've had in the Classic for a young prospect laden group. And that's all just outside of the home team. Elmer Rodriguez, the third-ranked Yankees prospect, Edwin Arroyo, who is the eighth-ranked Reds prospect. They're both on the Puerto Rico roster. I'm really, really excited to see Elmer Rodriguez. I think he is going to be extremely fun to watch, especially to see him in front of a crowd like he's going to have, pitching in a home stadium, essentially the home stadium for all of Puerto Rico at Hero Bithorn Stadium here in San Juan. He's going to be really fun to have around. So there are obviously supremely talented teams all across the WBC, but I think this is the most balanced group, and I think we have the most exciting prospect talent. We have more ranked prospects than any other group, but even beyond that, they're just really fun, really exciting prospects, and that's the thing that I think I'm most fired up about is getting a chance to see those young guys on these big stages.
Yeah, and they're all guys who can actually have an impact on the game. They're not just
Yeah.
names for like on the roster. I think about Bradfield and his speed. That's game changing anytime he's on the diamond, both in terms of base running and in the field. Michael Arroyo feels like he's the guy that the offense kind of revolves around for Colombia.
Yeah.
Leo Bernal, you mentioned, like he's a top 100 prospect for us. He's a minor league Gold Glove winner last year. It's funny, following his season with Springfield, really struggled in the back half of the year offensively. But on the defensive side, it seemed like teams just stopped running on him.
Yeah.
Like his arm is a golden arm.
It threw out
That's where
over
a lot of his
39% of base stealers last year.
it's insane. And I think teams were just like, we're not even going to try it. Like this is not worth our effort. I wonder if that scouting report is going to come to the WBC or if that ends up being a weapon for Panama as well. And Edwin Arroyo, you brought up, as somebody from Puerto Rico, I know a lot of people really wanted Francisco Lindor there.
Right.
Everybody on the island wanted Francisco Lindor there. Edwin Arroyo, for all his foibles as a hitter, we've heard for years now how good the glove is. And it just takes one play, right? Like one
Right.
really good snag to steal away a hit that would have led to the game-winning run, for him to make an impact too. So it was a great point about seeing Elmer Rodriguez. I think he has the pitch mix to really work on a stage like this. He's got upper level experience, hasn't broken through to the majors yet, but I think this is just the right exposure for him, and somebody who can. Well, I'm interested to see how he handles a little bit extra adrenaline. But again, when you have so many different pitches to work with, like he does, that certainly helps your case. If one or two of them fall off, you have three or four others to go with.
Man, it's going to be a fun group here in Puerto Rico. We do also have a breakdown of all the other ranked prospects and all of the other groups. Group B in Houston, Texas, Group C in Tokyo, and Group D in Miami as the 2026 World Baseball Classic has arrived. It's going to be a whole lot of fun here over the next, 12, 13 days, whatever it is, until we crown a champion of the 2026 Classic. But pretty stoked to be getting this thing rolling here. We're recording this on Thursday, as we usually do, but tomorrow morning we get our first crack at this WBC with Panama and Cuba kicking things off here in Pool A. Pretty excited for that.
I am just going to put my prediction out there.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask one for you, Tyler, because you are working the event.
Right.
We'll go like kind of Herb Street on game day.
Yeah,
You know,
can't do it. Can't do
You
it.
can't do it. You don't want to be
Right.
biased.
Yep,
You don't
yep.
want to put anything out there. I think the Dominican Republic is way too deep.
Interesting. Okay.
I know their pitching staff is not great, but they do have a legit ace in Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah.
If they can get to him as many times, without angering the Phillies, I guess. But if they rely on him and get him as many starts as possible and just let that lineup go. I mean,
Yeah.
in those exhibitions against the Tigers in the DR, Geraldo Perdomo was batting ninth. Geraldo Perdomo has an argument to be the best shortstop in the National League
Right.
and like the second best shortstop in baseball behind Bobby Witt Jr. And he's batting ninth. You have Vlad Jr., Juan Soto,
That
Julio
is pretty ridiculous.
Rodriguez in your lineup, like
Manny
Ketel
Machado,
Marte. Yeah.
Ketel Marte. Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
it's an embarrassment
it doesn't
of riches.
stop. It does not stop. Like you can get through one clean inning against the DR, and then it's like, oh right, here are three of the best hitters in baseball due up next inning too.
Yeah, and like Austin Wells, which every time I
Yeah.
post a lot of people get a little funny about that, but
Of
like
course.
has a right to be there and has a right to be in the WBC because he's a really good hitter. And I'm really interested to see how he adds a dynamic to that team as well. It's going to be really difficult to get through that lineup. I think Japan's a little bit down this year. Shohei Ohtani's not going to be pitching.
Not pitching.
He wouldn't be the ace of that staff, but like,
Roki Sasaki not on that team.
yeah, right.
And they still have a lot of pitching talent, but it is not the same staff that it was 3 years ago.
Right. So, and I know Team USA is obviously very deep in its own lineup, and it could probably trade punches with the DR if you go position by position. And then they obviously have the two best pitchers on the planet in Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, but we already know Tarek Skubal's not going to pitch that deep into the tournament.
Right.
Makes me wonder how deep Paul Skeens is going to pitch. In fact, Mark DeRosa has come out and said if they made the gold medal game, the championship game, it would be Nolan McLean, who's the rookie, who would be slated to start that game, which is great for him. He's top pitching prospect in baseball, like Nolan McLean a lot. I just think this DR team is too, like, there's no easy out at all.
Yeah.
And that's going to be punishing against a lot of these pitching staffs.
They also did not
I'm gonna
make
take
it out
them.
of the first round last time. And
They did.
that was a shocker. And so you feel like that is a team that is even more motivated than they would ordinarily be. They're already one of the most motivated countries, regardless, when they put one of these teams together. They want to get back to where they were in 2013. They want to win it again. But to have had I don't want to say embarrassment, but they probably felt that to a degree of not making it past the first round last year, or last edition. The fire in that lineup, in that clubhouse, on that pitching staff, it does feel like that's a very tough out, that DR team. But the crazy thing is you could make a legitimate case, I think, for 6 different countries that could win this thing and it would not be a massive shocker. I even think, you look at our group, and obviously the headliner is going to be Puerto Rico, and deservedly so. It's a team that's twice been to the final. But I think Canada could make a run. Canada's pitching staff is a little bit, I think, more under the radar. And they don't have Jonah Tong, they don't have Nick Pivetta, they don't have Matt Brash. Some of those guys weren't on this staff, but their lineup is pretty loaded. And if they get solid enough pitching, who knows? Canada can make it. Canada's never made it past the first round in the Classic, but this could be a time. Not only do we see them in the quarters, we could see them in the semis. So and by that same token, you could also make the argument for any one of the teams here in Pool A. They're like, oh, they're going to win the group and they'll go along with it. Any combination of two teams coming out of Pool A, I would believe you. If you wanted to say, oh, it's going to be Cuba and Colombia, that wouldn't shock me. It might surprise me a little bit, but that wouldn't shock me. And that's what makes this edition so much fun, is it feels like there is really, really good balance. And that's sort of the point of the World Baseball Classic, to showcase how good all of these countries are, how good all these teams can be built. And that just makes it so much fun, man. So I'm very excited to see the storylines over the next couple weeks.
And not only that, how much players want to play in this. I mean, obviously, there's the problems with insurance, and some guys haven't been cleared and haven't been able to make that work. But so many people want to be here. This is not just, hey, here's Team USA of all the guys we could get to agree. Like it's a real fight.
Right.
To get on that roster and get on that Dominican roster and get on that Japanese roster. And, there are players who are seeking out, like, how else might I be eligible so I can get myself in this environment?
Right.
And that's huge. That's really exciting. And that's only, I'll throw out another prediction here. And my prediction is that Julio Rodriguez ends up being the MVP.
Okay. Long-time friend of the show.
Long-time friend of the show, and I'm not doing that just for that reason, although it doesn't hurt. But I think because he's the center fielder. Like he's going to get that chance to be that, and you know this well, Tyler, be that version of Adam Jones this year.
Right.
Make that stellar grab that everybody's going to remember, and do that little Julio thing where everybody's staring at him like, did he catch it? And he flashes the ball up and he has that grin on his face. And that's what we're going to remember. And he can hit the ball extremely well too. Like he's going to be very well protected in that lineup. There's going to be a lot of traffic ahead of him. I just think this is really well set up for toolsy guys like that. Another popular pick is Bobby Witt Jr. because he can do so many different things. Julio is right there. And I think if the DR wins, it's because he has a really, really special tournament. But again, some of this is single elimination baseball.
Right.
Like anything can happen. You could have the Los Angeles Dodgers playing the Tulsa Drillers, which is within the same organization. The Drillers might get them 2 times out of 10.
Right.
And
that's baseball.
That's baseball. So we're going to see some funky things happening, and I'm ready to embrace it. I can't wait.
Man, the slogan for this year's World Baseball Classic is expect everything. And I feel like it is the greatest slogan that this event could ever have conjured. And we kick things off here in Puerto Rico coming up on Friday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time for our first one. We have an 11 a.m. and a 6 a.m. game Friday and Saturday. Sunday, we will shift back to standard Eastern time games, noon and 7, because Puerto Rico does not do daylight savings time, which I did not know. So when you all spring ahead, you'll just join Puerto Rico at what will then be Eastern time. Currently, we're an hour ahead of you in Atlantic time. But man, we're going to have some fun. You can find the broadcast schedule, of course, at MLB.com. Ryan Roland Smith and I will be on all these games from down here in Puerto Rico, and we are going to have a whole bunch of fun. And coming up, we're going to step aside for a brief time out, and we're going to bring it on back. And we're going to tell you about some dudes that we remember. Want to hear some dudes? Stick around. We're going to talk about some dudes. It's after the break as we wrap things up on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show. Wrapping up this week's episode of The Show Before the Show podcast. Before we get out of here, we have 2 dudes that I would like to remember today on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show, because we remember some dudes. We name dudes, we talk about dudes, and I've got a dude, one on the pitching side and one on the hitting side, both of whom played for the Toronto Blue Jays, and both of whom I saw today. And the first one that I'm going to throw out to you, he is not a Puerto Rican player, but he is down here as an ambassador for Major League Baseball. He was born in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He made his professional debut in the Pittsburgh Pirates organization before making his big league debut with that same Pirates organization all the way back in 1992. And actually, as I'm speaking and realizing this, he did not climb through the system with the Pirates. This is sort of a weird quirk that I had almost completely forgotten about. He climbed up in the Expos organization, but made his debut with the Pirates and then was back with the Expos. Is this even right? Could this be right? I feel like maybe somehow in some weird way this is incorrect through baseball reference. But the guy who I'm talking about is Miguel Batista. Miguel Batista, fantastic arm who pitched like 1,000 years in Major League Baseball, made an 18-year career into 14 and a half WAR, 658 games pitched, 248 games started. But did Miguel Batista actually make his debut with the Pirates while just being up, climbing up through the Expos system and then being back with the Expos? Did we find something wrong on Baseball Reference?
No, he was a Rule 5 guy, Tyler.
That's what it was. He was a Rule
He was
5 guy.
selected by the Pirates in the 1991 Rule 5 draft, made his debut with them on April 11th, 1992, and was sent back after that.
How
So,
crazy. What a
yeah.
weird statistical transactional quirk. That is not often that you see that. You have a guy who just goes, makes one thing, one start, and then it's like, all right, you're back. You're out of here, dude.
We got sent back
No
to the
minor
Florida
league
State League
appearances.
too. Yeah.
How
Like
crazy.
after that, he wasn't even, it's not like they sent him back and the Expos was like, all right, you're on a AAA roster now. No, he spent the rest of the year with West Palm Beach Expos.
How crazy. That is,
Yeah.
yeah, not something that I was uh expecting in the retelling of Miguel Batista's career. But Batista spent 18 years in the big leagues, made his debut with the Pirates, then he was with the Marlins, the Cubs. He was back with the Expos in the big leagues in 98, 99, and 2000. Then the Royals, the D-backs, the Blue Jays, back to the D-backs, the Mariners, the Nationals, the Cardinals, the Mets, and he ended his career in Atlanta in 2012. So that's one of them. Another one who also walked by me today, and I thought, oh, that guy looks just like Carlos Delgado. It was Carlos Delgado, who is down here helping out with this Puerto Rico roster from Aguadilla in Puerto Rico. He, of course, made his major league debut with the Toronto Blue Jays and spent the first 12 years of his big league career with the Blue Jays. And there was a time in the early 2000s when Carlos Delgado was as scary of a dude in Major League Baseball as existed. Probably his best season was the 2000 campaign. He played all 162 games that year and the next year, by the way, in 2001. But in 2000, Carlos Delgado slashed 344, 470, 664 for an 1134 OPS with 57 doubles, 41 homers, and 137 driven in. He had a stretch of time from 1998 through 2006. Check that. Through 2008, which is the penultimate year of his career, in which he drove in 102 or more runs in all but 2 seasons. He drove in 145 runs to lead all of Major League Baseball in 2003. He was an all-star, also had an OPS north of 1,000 that year, an OPS plus of 161. Carlos Delgado, he was a dude, man. You want to talk about a dude? Carlos Delgado was a dude.
And Carlos Delgado came very close to making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah?
Got 9 of 16 votes, was just 3 votes shy of the threshold needed when the contemporary baseball era players committee voted this offseason. So maybe someday we see him in Cooperstown, but even now we will tell his story of just, man, that guy was one of the most feared left-handed batters in baseball. And it was such a shining example of what you can do as a slugger in Toronto.
He was so much fun to watch, Carlos Delgado. Also, fun fact about Carlos Delgado, big dude. He was listed at 6'3", 215, not necessarily known for his wheels, but he stole 14 bases in his major league career, and his career high for stolen bases in a season came in his age 35 year with the Mets when he stole 4 bases and he was not caught once. Incredible. There's time for all of us to find our wheels. That is not true for me at all. That's not, even when I was young, that wasn't true.
I just imagine that was him saying, like, I don't need these knees anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just try it.
It's like, nobody's going to suspect this. I'm taking off. Next pitch, I'm going. So, a couple of dudes who are hanging out down here in San Juan for the 2026 World Baseball Classic. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. A limited edition this week with only 2/3 of our regular podcasting tripod. But man, we had a lot of fun getting set for the WBC, for Spring Breakout, all the rest. Get in touch with us. Send your top 30 questions and everything else to Sam and to the rest of the prospect team at MLB Pipeline. Podcast at MILB.com is where you can get in touch with us. And for Sam Dykstra, the absentee Benjamin Hill, I am a mentally frazzled Tyler Mon after a long day of manager interviews here in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Tune in. Catch us this week in the World Baseball Classic. And for all of us at MILB, we'll catch you next week.